Rocky, your pay for the fight is very substantial. What are you going to do with the money?
Well, the first thing I gotta do is I gotta pay the rent, And then, well, I made this list on the way over. I was just thinking of things to do. I'd like to get a couple of hats and a motorcycle and a couple of quarts of perfume for Adrian. She likes to smell good. And some Muppet toys, Ernie and Big Bird and Frog. What's his name? Kermit or something like that? And
Rocky 2 coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevening. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today that is Tommy.
Yeah.
We introduced him to the Rocky saga last year and then just decided, I'm not even going to try to pick it up.
I watched Creed, to be fair, after we covered Rocky last year. But I thought that we might want to save Rocky 2 for the pod at some point. And, eventually now here we are. I mean, unfortunately, it's for bad reasons because Carl Weathers unfortunately passed away over the weekend.
Yes, we changed the schedule up, after hearing about Carl Weathers passing. Tommy's like, have you seen Predator?
Yeah,
and I was like, of course.
It was a worthy shot. You got to take the shot.
It's a shot in the dark, absolutely. And then I went back to Tommy and I said, if we cover just the scenes that Carl Weathers is in Arrested Development, which is arguably the funniest joke of the entire show, that is just full of funny jokes. Could we just cover that? And you were like, I think it's a little, sometimes we do romantic comedies or whatever that don't have a ton of, we call them, don't have a ton of meat on the bones. There where we're kind of stretching a little bit to cover the full movie. And he's like, I just think that would be a 5-minute episode. And I think Carl Weathers deserves more than that. And I was like, you're right, Tommy, you're 100% right. So we decided on Rocky 2. I think it's interesting because I think more fittingly would have probably been Rocky 4. But you haven't seen any of the other Rockies, so we'll get to Rocky 4. We're gonna cover all the Rockies now.
We're gonna build them up. I mean, like I'm already locked in. I mean, I loved Creed when I watched Creed last year too. I saw Rocky Balboa before we covered Rocky also. So
yeah, but I mean that's like that and Rocky 5 are like the two that are just like, they happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's like the whole Disney era of Star Wars. It's like, it happened.
Yeah, in terms of Carl Weathers, I mean, like, I considered Action Jackson. I did pitch that, and we're like, that movie's probably gonna be shit. We haven't covered a movie that we both just hated, like beyond belief.
In a while. It's been a minute. I feel
the Matrix sequel probably was the last.
No, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I feel like.
Oh yeah, we both hated that one.
Did not. I'm sure if we scrolled through like all of our episodes, we'd probably find we'd probably find a couple that were just like, oh yeah, that was
both of us were like, why did we cover this?
Why did we cover this movie? But yeah, so before we get into Rocky 2, and Tommy, I didn't tell you what I was prepping for the pre-roll. How did you like a little Muppet reference there?
Yeah, great right there. Sylvester Stallone was on the Muppets on the Muppet Show
that
back
year in 1979, the year this film came out. Because I was like looking at it because I knew he was on the Muppet Show, but I didn't know what year it was.
Yeah, it was a great episode. When that first came on Disney Plus, I decided to watch like all the celebrities I still knew who they were on the Muppet Show, and I was like, Sylvester Stallone, fuck yeah, I'll put that on. And it was a great episode.
Yeah, that is the weird thing about going back to like the Muppet Show, and then you're pulling up like you're like, I know Steve Martin, Mark Hamill, Brooke Shields. Is that old? My God. Okay. Sylvester Stallone. Oh, these are all just like a bunch of like British stage actors from the 70s. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely know them. Definitely that's studied in theater. But before we get into Rocky 2, any movie you saw recently, Tommy, that you'd like to discuss?
All right, so I rewatched Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. I rewatched Jurassic Park about a couple weeks ago. Great movie. We've talked about it before on an episode. But this is the first time I rewatched The Lost World in probably about 25 years. And I was thinking back, this is a movie that was probably a top 10 VHS for me as a kid. And rewatching this for the first time in 25 years explains why I'm such a big fucking horror movie fan. Because The Lost World, it pretty much just takes Jurassic Park and just goes a little bit darker with it to some scenes where, like, there's a whole scene of like velociraptors hunting down a group of mercenaries in the fucking woods, and they all get just murked by the velociraptors over and over again. It feels like a crazy dark horror movie. I mean, the ending of like San Francisco, of them just like the T-Rex just going rampaging, eating up people and stuff like that. No wonder I'm a horror freak today. And overall, it was a fun rewatch. I'm glad I rewatched it because I think Jurassic Park obviously is an untouchable fucking classic. And it's hard to follow that movie, and maybe they shouldn't have followed that movie, but I thought that The Lost World.
They definitely
Yeah.
shouldn't have, because like Jurassic Park 2 is the best of the other ones that have come out.
Yeah. And even then, it's a okay,
it's not
it's
even
a fun B movie.
It's not even, yeah, it's Spielberg was just like, oh, you're gonna give me like $25 million to direct the sequel to this, and I could do whatever I want. All right, cool. I'm gonna just throw some schlock out there.
Yeah, it was pure schlock.
It's almost
fun
like
schlock.
I always say it's almost the premise of Jurassic Park. Like once you take the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in, and it's like that's the same thing. Like once you're God yourself and you create these dinosaurs, like you can't just take them out of the ecosystem that you put them into, and vice versa.
Well, I mean, as Jeff Goldblum says in the first Jurassic Park, you were so concerned that if you could, you didn't ask if you should.
Yeah, that's like, and they just announced another Jurassic World, and I'm like, was Dominion not bad enough?
Yeah, I didn't even bother with that.
I know, I didn't either, and I can't even tell you one person who I've ever met that was like, pretty good. Yeah,
it was so funny.
Really good movie. Really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
There's a Twitter account that like you saw like a reel of them like hyping up Jurassic Park Dominion and being like so excited for it. Can't wait. It's gonna be the best movie ever. Fuck yeah. And then he watched it and immediately was like, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. What the fuck did I just watch? So I mean, it's a franchise in general that's just gone downhill. I mean, I thought Jurassic World was okay. I recently picked up Jurassic Park 5 movies on 4K, and they're like, oh, sorry, the 4K set, this is a used copy. It's like the 4K set doesn't have Fallen Kingdom. Is that okay? I was like, oh, the worst one.
I think Dominion took the cake. I'll give Fallen Kingdom. That's the second Jurassic World, right?
Yeah.
That movie went so like, because the first half of it starts like so just like Jurassic Park sequel movie. It goes so insane, I almost respect it. Because like if you asked me before seeing that movie how it was gonna end, I don't think anybody with a functional brain could have predicted like, oh, weapons dealers and gangsters are going to buy dinosaurs to weaponize armies. And I'm like, that, and there's going to be an auction in John Hammond's house. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, it's so bad. It's such utter garbage that I almost tip my cap to it.
Yeah, it goes off the rails immediately, and you can see the seams of this franchise already starting by the second movie.
That's when they pushed it too far. So I'm not mistaken. You covered this movie last week on the podcast. Poor Things.
Yeah,
I went and saw Poor Things. I liked it. You know this story because I had to text somebody right after this because it's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. He's known for putting very adult themes, graphic scenes, like in The Favorite. There's a lot of nudity and sex in that movie. I knew that there was going to be some in this. Like, I didn't know to what extent it was in this. Let's just say that, like, there are extremely graphic sex scenes, like through multiple times throughout this movie, like for stretches, like a lot of nudity and a lot of graphic sex scenes. And I'm just sitting there in my seat, and then the first really graphic sex scenes happens, and the woman sitting like a couple seats down from me gets up, and then like out of the corner of my eye, there's like a young child there, and like rushing him out. I'm like, oh, like I guess you just didn't know, like get him out of there, like 10 or under, like too young for that. And then I guess whoever they were with, like text them being like, okay, it's done. And then like they came back in. There's like a bit of a gap, like when she's on the boat, like where there's none of that really.
Yeah.
And then she gets to France and she goes to a brothel and they stick through the brothel like all the way until like very Emma Stone is very graphically like hung up in a room. And then like all of them like rush out of I'm like once that one scene happens, like just go, like call
Just
it a day.
realize you made a mistake
Just
immediately as a
call it a loss.
parent.
Call it a loss. As a parent, you just need to take the L. Like you lost
Yeah.
25 bucks. It happens. It happens to everybody. You
Yeah.
could have gambled. You could have done anything. Be like, hey, I didn't know there was graphic nudity. Is there like a 9 o'clock showing of Paw Patrol that I could take my child to? Like something, like it like baffled my mind that they went back in, and I was like, okay,
At a certain point, it's like it's the parents' fault. I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, there's been a recent streak of me going to like in 2023, going to horror movies and people bringing their young kids to the movie. I mean, I saw Evil Dead Rise back in like 20 last year. And in the middle of the movie, during a graphic scene of like a character getting like their eyeballs stabbed out or something, I hear a young child scream out, "I want to go home." It was just so sad. I mean, like, for me, I'm all for the movie, but I'm a 29-year-old man. A 5-year-old kid would be traumatized by that movie. It's like, parents, realize what you're taking your fucking kids to.
yeah, I also feel, but Tommy, if you were a parent, I feel like you would take your 5-year-old to
This
like
is why I don't have
look
kids.
yeah, this is why you don't have kids. But yeah, that's my tangent on Poor Things because like that just like overshadowed the whole movie for me was just that thought the entire time. Like the second I got out of the theater, I was like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And he's like, Tommy's like, "Nothing," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. This is the weird thing that happened at my screening of Poor
This,
Things," and like you saw this movie and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's like,
yeah.
how did you even let it get to this point? Like, how did you stay in the theater after Mark Ruffalo and Emma Stone head out together? Like, how did you do that? Good movie
Well,
though.
it's like if you cared about like that type of thing. I mean, I'm one that like doesn't care about like there's parental guidance websites you can really look up, see what's on the movie, and like go about it to see like and they describe there's like scenes of Emma Stone tied up completely naked in this movie, and be like, yeah, I don't need my kid to see that.
Yeah, and like I get, and part of the message was about like female empowerment and like all of that. So it probably read an article about how this was an empowering movie for women,
Yeah,
and the message is in there. The delivery, would argue maybe questionable, but I would say that like once the first one happens, you gotta just evacuate the theater
yeah.
entirely. Like you
It's
can't
one of
just
those things like for both of us, it's fine. I wasn't bothered by the material, but obviously we're like adults at this point. Shockingly so. But yeah, don't bring your kids to go see Poor Things. That's anything we could say on this
that
podcast.
is definitely that is definitely the message. Don't bring your kids to go see Poor Things. Although a movie that is pretty family friendly. This is Rocky 2.
Rocky, the story that captured the imagination of audiences around the world, continues. Rocky 2.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind marrying me very much.
The hope.
I never asked you to stop being a woman. Don't ask me to stop being a man.
The joy.
I can't believe you've done this.
The dreams.
Maybe we can do better this time.
Rocky 2, rated PG. Starts Friday, June 15th at theaters everywhere.
Yeah, so I was actually able to find a TV spot from the 1979, which kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Rocky 2 stars Sylvester Stallone as our beloved Philadelphia hero, Rocky. You know what I realized and why Rocky has just endeared, especially to the city of Philadelphia in and of itself? Because Rocky, after his big success in getting advertising deals, and we see all of that, he decides to stay in Philadelphia when anybody else who gets the chance leaves Philadelphia.
Gets
And
the fuck out.
that's why Rocky is such a chance. Like, oh, you did good and you stayed here. We really appreciate that about you. So this movie's like this is such a 1970s sequel, and 1979, obviously, and like I've seen
Mm.
Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 when a lot of the cheese really starts to seep into the
Yeah.
franchise, and this is very like in a true 70s like fashion, like grounded sequel of probably what would happen to Rocky throughout throughout the year from the end of the first movie.
Yeah, that was actually kind of like a little shocking to me. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of 3 and 4, not all the way through though, and those are just pure 80s cheese at that point. I mean, Mr. T and Dolph Lundgren are villains. But this one, I mean, I was kind of shocked. I mean, I knew that it was going to be him rematching Carl Weathers. I knew that he won at the end of it, but I didn't expect like, the majority of the movie to be him just essentially getting back to square one. I mean, that's sometimes the frustrating thing of sequels. Like when you have like a sequel to RoboCop and he's wearing the helmet the whole time, it's like you're losing the part of the story right there. But it's almost like in a way you wish there was a more successful way, but that would have been the boring sequel of him just Rocky's doing great and has no drama in his entire life. We needed to have a little more drama squeezed out of this, but in a way, this kind of made this movie feel a little repetitive from compared to the first one.
What do you mean by repetitive?
Uh, in terms of like, we have the same antagonist. I mean, obviously he didn't beat Carl Weathers, but he's fighting him again right there. And repetitive of the sense of like Rocky down on his luck, just figuring out life and just like moping through the streets of Philadelphia.
So that's kind of where I think it's different. And I actually kind of disagree with your point there altogether because like his motivation in the first movie is he needs to prove himself to himself and to the world. Like he needs to prove that he is Rocky Balboa, like who Rocky is, like that he is somebody, he can be somebody. Like that great scene with Meredith Burgess in his apartment where breaks down and like that
Mm,
soul of the movie kind of comes out. I
mm,
felt like in Rocky, and I think the one scene right at the beginning when they're in the hospital after the fight, and he goes, "Did you give it your all, Apollo?" And he says, "Yes, yes, I did." Like
mm,
almost satisfied Rocky enough. And he decided to retire from boxing because he had the injury to the eye, could cause blindness. He gets engaged to Adrian, tries the advertising route, it doesn't go, just kind of gets a job doing things. But we're watching at the same time the bills start to stack up.
mm.
He buys the car, he buys the house, he's buying Adrian nice clothes, nice things, a jersey for the dog, right? Like the bills are racking up, and it wasn't that substantial amount of money that you could just keep spending and not have to work anymore. And then once the child comes along and Rocky gets let go from the meat plant, he's like, this is the only thing I know how to do. This is the only thing I know how to make money.
Well, it's kind of like the similar thing of like, there's that 30 for 30 documentary about the athletes that go broke, like the NFL athletes, like within like years. Like, you spend and spend and spend, but you realize that that money is eventually going to run out and it's not infinite source. So I do appreciate the fact that they really hammer it home that this is all Rocky can fucking do. It's like, the whole scene of him doing the commercial part is just so awkward and like in a way that like you're meant to felt that of just like this guy does not understand how to act or like read from cue cards or I mean or read in general, to be honest.
Yeah, he's struggling with
Yeah.
reading, like, and carrying that over from Rocky itself, like it, it's true with the character because it's very funny when he's not thinking and he's just around Adrian and Paulie and just like people he knows and he's feeling good, like he's just hey, and then he's just free flowing, like dialogue is just flinging around, like
Yeah.
there's so much charisma there. But then once you force him to have to like read off a script, he's like he can barely read the cue cards, and like it's just not going to work for an advertisement. So like I felt like his motivation to just get back into fighting is he just found out he kind of sucks at everything else.
Yeah, it's
Like
just
he wanted to
basically
get an office job, like he wanted to be a respectable, like quote unquote, like straight businessman for his son Rocky Jr. Like that was the big thing for him. And then the conflict comes from Adrian not at first wanting him to fight, like not giving him the blessing, and he's just not inspired. Where on the other side, it was like the relationship was blossoming, and like for them, it was like we can get out of our situation and really change our lives with like a big fight here, and like I can do this, and just that belief in itself. And then he has to refine that belief, and it's just through the strength of the relationship between Rocky and Adrian, which I think is the central core of this movie, is because most of the movie, the first hour of it is just Rocky and Adrian just like kind of hanging out for an hour. Like that's the movie.
Mm.
It's why I kind of disagree where you're saying it's like it was like repetitive. It was like I didn't think it was really that repetitive because Rocky didn't have that issue of believing within himself. It was like it was
Oh, I think that he did have a little bit of issue of believing in himself. I mean, like he himself was even. I don't think it was just because of his wife, Adrian. I think that he had some self doubt that he could do it again. Like he was worried about like doing anything. He pretty much like the only reason that he returned to fight was essentially just the last resort, where it's just like I guess I can do this. But even then, he wasn't even sure. He had to pretty much get coaxed out of retirement by Carl Weathers, telling him on television, be like, "Hey, you're a bitch. Come on, fight me again. You can do this."
Yeah,
um,
a little
but
bit, but I didn't feel like it was repetitive in the way that you're saying it was, and it ultimately felt like a pretty realistic interpretation of probably what would have happened to Rocky. And then you just need something interesting to happen for like a movie to take place, and that interesting thing is Carl Weathers being like, "No, all I'm getting a lot of hate mail saying that like Rocky won. No, I need to prove that I won that fight. Like I got the decision, but I didn't win the fight." Like there's that great scene with Carl Weathers and his people, and like having that discussion um about it. And it's so funny the difference of the approach where Apollo is such a showman and such like he knows he's a brand, he knows it's a business. Like he understands like selling the fight, and Rocky's just sort of like, number one, I gotta pay the bills, keep the lights on. Like that's
he's
and
that
it's
performance actor. I mean, like Creed is 100% putting on an act, just like selling. I was almost expecting after that scene to have like Carl Weathers talk backstage to him, like, "Hey, man, like you're gonna do good, but this is mostly a show or something like that."
no with fighters it doesn't go like that. It's kind of like
Yeah.
implied at a higher level that it's all show, but um you need the hatred of the other person to as like a motivation. You're gonna punch this guy's face in. You need to hate that person.
Yeah.
Like you need to convince yourself mentally.
Yeah, you got to get in that zone right there. I mean, I think that one thing I did notice throughout this movie was at first I was a little shocked that the fight only started. I timed it, paused it right when the first punch was thrown. It was at 17 minutes within this movie. And at first I was like, that seems a little shorter compared to the first Rocky. I'm like, I don't know. And then I realized I went back right when I finished this movie to Rocky 1. I fast forwarded to just the fight scene, and that was at 12 minutes. So we were joking earlier. Yeah, they had the budget for 5 more fight scenes, and yet it felt dynamic. And you don't really, even in both movies, to be honest, and especially this one, you don't feel that the length is short, even though that's not a great amount of time. You expect almost in the Rocky movie for the fights to be like half of the movie or something. But overall, I think the fights in this, I mean, I like the direction. I know you were saying earlier that you thought it was weird, but I didn't get a very weird sense out of it. It felt a little more visually distinctive than the first one, which is more of like, here's a sport fight.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that before we started rolling here. I didn't say it was a bad thing. I just thought it was like a little bit more strange, and just like the camera straining, like definitely added style. I just don't know if it like resonated with me there so much. But I think the other part of it was like I think even at the start of the fight, like kind of going back to what we were saying, like I don't even know if Rocky was fully like motivated for the fight until he got knocked down the first time. And then
Yeah.
that first bell rang and he was like, "Oh, it's on, it's on, it's on." And you kind of see
Mm.
that little bit of like a tiger mentality in him, that survivor uh mentality. Spoiler for Rocky 3. I the Tiger Survivor. Uh
Yeah, I know that's Rocky threw it there, but yeah, I mean, I just love the fact that you know, I think Sylvester Stallone taking over the directing reins of this movie gave it a little more of a distinctive flair. I mean, I think the first Rocky is obviously a classic. I think it's a better movie, but I think in terms of just fight combat, we're getting more cinematic angles right here a little bit more, whereas this one, the first one, from what I remember, felt more realistic, which is its own style in its own self. But I think that this gave it a distinctive flair where this could have easily just been a retread of a fight scene, you know?
Yeah, I could definitely like see that, and you know, in and of itself, it's a little bit of like a retrend. Like it is a sequel. For me, it just doesn't bother me because it just felt so logical, like of like what ended up happening down that path.
Well, it's crazy how they get the formula down for Rocky just immediately. You know, I mean, there's now a distinctive formula. The sequel setup. I mean, pretty much we need the training montage to let it fly now, or Eye of the Tiger later on, and you need just the distinctive fight right there. But the montage, I was fucking just pumped up the second that kicked in. Once the Rocky music thing kicked in, and him running with all the kids throughout Philadelphia. Apparently, like the local Philadelphians did like a track that is from South Philly into like the steps up there. It's like about 30 miles or something like that, a little bit over a marathon, which is insane, but still, you just don't, you just buy it. You're just like, fuck yeah, let's go. Everyone's cheering on Rock. Rock's
well,
a celebrity this time. It's
I
very,
like that they had two back-to-back trainings montage sequences, like of him like doing all the boxing workouts, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then you get the dun 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 with a little more funk in it, you know, a little late 70s disco twist mixed in there, and then it's just like him like running around and like all the neighborhood kids just being like, yeah, Rocky, like, and then they're
well,
running up the steps. And it does, the moment does not hit as much as the triumphant moment it does in Rocky, which is like the most iconic scene
yeah.
in the original movie in the whole franchise. If we're gonna
Well,
be honest,
again, as a sequel, it just shows it in a way of a character development. It's like, hey, remember the scene from the first movie? That here's how it's a little bit different. Instead of Rocky, from what I remember in the first one, he was, you know, by himself throughout the whole entire train montage. In this one, everyone's welcome him. Everyone's like, let's go, Rock, come on, let's go. And just shows how much he's changed and how much popularity he's grown just since one fight.
yeah, it's a cool way of showing that as well. So I guess part of the reason we picked Rocky 2 was for Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed. How did you feel like his role was here? Because
I th- I think that he was more distinctive in this movie, kind of, than he was came off in the first. I think that he was given a little bit more to chew off of in some ways. I think that especially I love just in the beginning of the movie of him, just like him and Rocky are both just like beating the pulp, and he's telling Rocky, "You should be proud, man. You know, no one's lasted that long with me, but you did. Come on, man. You're great." And just him right there, giving him little character moments, and just you're seeing the motivation from more and more and more that he's like kind of has a little respect for Rocky, but at the same time, just like, come on, I just had a shitty night. Like I could beat the shit out of this guy.
yeah, and like you know, Rocky goes in and be like, "Did you give it my all?" And it was like by round 15, Apollo Creed gave it his all. Round
Mm.
one, he was not giving it his all. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like the whole point of it was like, well, let's find like a guy we can, you know, let's put a freebie on the books for me, quote unquote, and just like big championship with a local hero guy, local fighter, like make it a big triumphant stage. Like that was the whole motivation for the original Rocky. And that was the nice twist because from that side it was just like Apollo as like straight businessman entertainer. And the moment
mm,
of being like, yeah, man, you'll do good. Like you might go down in two, but that's fine. Like that feels more like it would have been in the original Rocky, where in this movie, it was you know, like you felt the hurt, like how defeated he was. Like it was very, and like how he responded to being defeated for the first time. Like even though he won on paper, like he knew he lost that fight. Like he knew he did not emerge victorious in
yeah.
the court of the public opinion.
Everyone's talking more about how Rocky made it through and everything like that than they are about the fact that, yeah, in the end, the judges gave it to Creed. Creed, because like, throughout the movie, the whole thing was just like, oh, I thought the judges like were wrong right there. Like, Rocky might have lost the numbers, but here you go.
Yeah.
It just really showed like his ego was just bruised right there. He just couldn't take it, and like, you know, towards the middle of the movie when like they had that press conference, there is a little bit of a line of like, is he just like put on an act, or is he actually just that pissed off?
Well, I think at this time it's like he does. I don't think he can just tell the difference.
Mm.
Like your ego as like a performer, because in a sense, like boxers, and fighters, like Conor McGregor is like a billionaire because of this, is because like it's that line of performance and like that realism and letting that ego swell up so big. Like once that they kind of morph together, and once that's bruised, you can't separate the two. Um, so it was definitely like more of a prideful thing for him, but it was nice seeing like his wife and kids, like seeing like just a little like brief little window into that side of Apollo's life, and seeing him reading the letters out, and it's like, can you just let it go? Like, why don't you spend time with your kids, man? It's like, no, no. So it's like
They definitely fleshed him out in general just a ton more. I mean, like that whole scene is just showing of just like this man can't let it go, and he will not rest until he knows for sure I could take him out. Which I'm excited to see Rocky 3. I know that Mr. T is the villain, but I'm excited to see how that dynamic plays out even more. I mean, I'm sure that he gives them respect. I know that Rocky 3 ends with the two of them fighting and then cuts the credits, but it just shows like throughout that, like, the begrudging respect that Creed is eventually going to give him.
yeah. And I think with and just going back to the point of the ego thing, like Rocky goes the distance, but Rocky, outside of one round throughout the entire fight, like getting his ass kicked. Like the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
fight was a little more even, and there was a big thing, they made a big point of him being like, you need to fight right-handed. Like Rocky's a left-handed fighter. So they make that's like a very big emphasis point, and a part of that actually during the filming of it was that Stallone experienced almost a complete tear on his right pec while trying to bench press.
Yeah.
So like he couldn't fight with his left hand, like he couldn't be a proper southpaw. So like they had to kind of adjust during filming on it. Um, so and when you get to the end of round 14, all of his camp is saying, "You've won this fight. It's not even close. Just stay away from him." And he couldn't stay away from him. And like that's ultimately what lets Rocky B emerge victorious, is that like no matter what happens to that guy, he will get up. You can push him down 100 times, he's going to get up 101. Like that's
Well,
just who he
exactly.
is.
There's like an IMDb trivia thing that said that, like, at the end of the day, Rocky didn't win the fight as much as Creed lost the fight because he let the ego get the better of himself. He was just like, fuck this. I'm knocking him out. I got this. He's like, just got a little cocky right there. Whereas he could have just stayed away. And there's no chance that Rocky was going to win that fight if Creed didn't get knocked out. That was the only way. And
Yeah.
it's instead of just playing defense and just like play it chill, he had to be aggressive, and Rocky showed him up.
Rocky did show him up.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right. So, Tommy, who is the star of Rocky 2? Honorable mention to Carl Weathers, obviously, lost a legend. It's Sylvester Stallone. There's
Yeah, it's his movie.
nobody plays a dumb guy better than Sylvester Stallone. Like he just plays a dumb guy so well. It's remarkable. It's a true feat, because I think Sylvester Stallone's actually a very intelligent man. Like the way he's able to just encapsulate like pure golden retriever dumb guy energy is just truly remarkable, and I tip my cap to this. I would say like the one thing, like I felt like in this one, like Paulie, Burt Young's character, like he basically not in the movie. Like they just had to kind of like force him into little scenes here or there because like they had nothing for Paulie to do. Uh in
Yeah,
this movie.
he's pretty much just like in the corner of like a fight. I mean, the only memorable part of him during the press conference of him just like talking shit and stuff like that. But I mean, Holly might as well not exist in this. I'm sure 3 and 4 probably give him a little more to chew off of.
But and then I wanted to touch on Talia Shire because I felt like she was much Adrian was a little more fleshed out and a little more comfortable, and like part of her character, and like they even discusses that she's very shy, she's just very reserved person, and part of what she loves about Rocky is he's so comfortable just kind of talking to her and making her feel loved in that way. Like the relationship kind of balances each other out in that way. I just felt like she was great in this, and then when she gives birth early and wakes up and they have that very emotional moment where she gives him his blessing, like I felt like was a very nice, powerful scene. But I really liked Talia Shire's performance in this as well.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I
Bert,
think that
and
she was good in this movie, but I think that I mean it is weird. I mean, there's a production reason why for this, but it's weird that she's not in the final fight in person, that she's watching on TV. Apparently it's because Talia Shire had to film some other movie at the time, but just like way it just feels very disconnected for everything. It's just
yeah,
like
well, they wrote it in fairly naturally. Like she was in a coma after giving birth, so it was like, don't go into like a high stress situation in public. Like be at home. Um, and Burgess Meredith also. Like I'm just kind of using this segment now because we all know who the star of Rocky movies are. It's Sylvester Stallone.
yeah.
To touch on all the performances we just kind of brushed over. I love Burgess Meredith. I love that chapel scene.
Mm.
Um, in the hospital where he understands that Rocky's motivations have changed and it's become about the family and how important and imperative like that is to him, and just like that monologue he gives in the chapel is very powerful. Probably the
I
best monologue in the movie in my opinion.
Oh, easily. I mean, like him just even like watching the the TV press conference of Carl Weathers calling him out. He's like, Rocky. I love that they brought back Joe Spinelli in this movie, even though he had pretty much nothing to do other than be like, "Come on, Rocky, you can be alone. You can be rough it up again. Come on, you can do something." He's like, "No, man, I'm not doing that." That's all they had from him. I mean, it's not shocking he's not in Rocky 3. So that point,
Also,
just
I love that there was just a little montage of him working in the meat factory. Like I just loved it. There was just like a little montage of him working like a day-to-day life.
yeah,
The Rocky movies are starting to really love those montage sequences.
yeah. You can see where it gets better and better at that
Well,
point.
you haven't seen the other two, so you don't really.
I've seen parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, I just don't want people questioning the integrity of this podcast. If they're like, well, they say they haven't seen him, but then Tommy's like, oh yeah, the montages get crazier and crazier, and it's like, well, how would you know that you haven't seen the other two? Uh, Tommy, would Rocky 2 work as a Muppet adaptation? I think the first movie, this is their 98th movie.
Yeah.
We've covered.
Mm.
This is the first time we've had a Muppet reference, like a straight up like the word Muppet, Ernie, Big Bird, and Kermit, like thrown into the script referencing the Muppets.
I am sure if we go back, there's probably another movie.
Nope. I was go. I went through because I have
You did
I
the
have
homework?
on my no because I have on my soundboard. I have all of the movies that like all the TV trailers that we have, and I was
Yeah.
able to go through like after everything since Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think was our third movie.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, the third or fourth movie. Everything from there. One, I think the only movies that we both were in agreement that we didn't really like were Bad Santa and The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The other two, that one of us probably at least liked it a little bit.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of good movies. I don't, it's more interesting than just being like, yep,
Generally,
didn't like this movie. I want to spread more positivity. There's a lot of hatred out there. Why?
yeah, we're not venomous. I mean, there'll be a movie eventually we'll cover that will be like, fuck that, 1 star F1, go fuck this movie.
You don't give movies 1-star reviews, Tommy. Be real with yourself.
Only once, dude.
And anyway,
Not falling for the troll bait.
no, I know you too well. Come on. And So would this work as a Muppet adaptation? That's the real
Um,
question.
I'm trying to remember what we said last year. One, but I mean, I think the fact that Sylvester Stallone himself has been with the Muppets means yes. And you keep Sylvester Stallone. I mean, he could just work perfectly, and he covers. I always forget his fucking name. The huge Muppet. Whatever his name is, Sweetums, I think his name is.
No, I think you keep Sylvester Stallone, and in the spirit of this episode honoring Carl Weathers, you keep Apollo Creed. We're gonna have two humans in this one, and then the rest of
Yeah,
the cast is just your assortment of Muppets. Like,
Paulie already works as a Muppet. He's probably like halfway there.
yeah, he's Fozzie. He's as clear. There's never been a clearer Fozzie Bear in my life than Paulie. You have Kermit being Mickey. I guess Piggy as Adrian, right? Like you can go down the list. You could fill this cast out easily. Though I think Waldorf as Mickey would be the ideal casting. Just like
Yeah.
him, just verbally abusing Rocky.
Oh, you can't box. Oh, 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 oh.
Yeah, and then just I think that's the correct casting there. All right, Tommy, review time. Give me your score out of 5.
This is a fun watch. The climax, especially, I like the visually distinctive style. I think that there's some parts where it kind of repeated a little the same beats as the first Rocky for me, personally. But overall, good movie. I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm actually right in the same boat with you. 3.5 out of 5. Like I like that it does something different
Hmm.
while also being a sequel and kind of just delivering the same thing at the end. It's a good movie. It almost in vein of our Jurassic Park conversation that we had earlier. It's like you can't capture that magic ever again that you had in Rocky 1. It's just impossible to do.
Hmm.
But I think the Rocky sequels, up to 4 have did a really great job of keeping that alive. And I haven't seen 2 in years, and I really enjoyed this watch. So for me, 3.5 out of 5. Definitely give it a watch.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy. So any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, once again, R.I.P. Carl Weathers. Great career. Really bummer loss. Got to rewatch Predator soon. But thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on social media at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and very occasionally Threads. And you can also leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. It really helps out the show, helps us grow out. We have a great month coming up. Next week, we're going to be covering Reality Bites for its 30th anniversary, which is insane. And, we're going to be covering Tombstone, Scarface coming up. Ton of great movies.
Tombstone episode 100.
Yeah. So get ready for that.
Get your boys ready. It's going to be a ditty. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next week.